Hi everyone, hi, how are we doing? It's me, your boy. I'm just gonna get straight into this one. I don't really have an intro for this. I'm gonna talk about some bad and weird experiences that I've had at conventions. Also, again, sorry for my fucking shoulders, it's so warm in here. Conventions are usually meant to be, you know, fun and places where you can meet people and have a good time and wear your cosplay or your fursuit and people will usually take photos with you and things are all nice and fun. However, sometimes things go badly and I'm going to talk about that. Second story is something that was actually kind of scary. Forge Comic Con, I was first sitting with some friends. We didn't really have a handler. Our friend Amanda, who was mentioned in my fursuit makers video, Amanda, my friend Amanda had her mum with her. We didn't really have handlers, really. I mean, like, her mum was cool, but we were kind of all in a group and we were like, we'll just look out for each other, you know, it's not a big convention, so it won't be too bad. Forge Comic Con, by the way, was a convention run by BGCP Conventions, who do conventions in certain areas in Scotland. So, for example, there's like Rutherglen, there's Hamilton, there's Forge, there's Largs, Liverpool. They do so many places. They're kind of small conventions, but they're kind of good for fursuiters because I've started to realise that I show up a lot, so they'll usually try and see if they can get a venue where people can leave their stuff in, which is really cool. I appreciate them for that. At Forge, we actually had a really nice room in the back because the area they were using for the actual convention was a shut down shop. So they had a fitting room, because it's a clothes store that's not being used. They had a fitting room in the back that we could leave all our stuff in, which was really cool, so I love Forge for that. Anyway, we were just outside where the convention was being run. I think a group of 3 kids came over to me, and at first they were quite nice, and then they started tugging on this. You see this? This is a horn, and it can be pulled, but if you pull it, I have to take my head with me, because if you pull it too hard, it will rip and it will break, and I don't want that, especially in the middle of a convention. So, these kids started putting on my horn, and I kind of had to just follow my head wherever they were taking me, so that then they wouldn't rip it off. And it got to the point where I was on the floor, and I couldn't move because these kids were now kind of on me, and I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble and I need help. My friends were closer to the convention doors and I was further away. And I was like, shit, I'm in a bit of a pickle. So I just kind of started using my squeaker and squeaking really loud, like just this long, like, for a really long time. And I don't remember seeing in the corner of my eye. And my friend Jazz kind of looking at me, like, oh, like something's going on. They came over and kind of got in between me and the children so I could get up and, you know, get my shit together. I leaned my head against the wall and touched here to make sure my horn was still on. It's still here. This is the same horn. This horn was one that got grabbed by kids. So, everything was fine. They moved off once Jazz told them to fuck off. That whole, that situation made me not only angry, but really scared for my suit. I was angry because I could see the mother in the corner with her trolley just standing there watching the whole situation, but I was clearly flailing and freaking out because the whole time I was there like, stop it, and I couldn't get them to stop, like, grabbing my horn because they're kids and they're fucking mental. And it was very obvious I was in a bit of a bad situation, and she could have came over and told her kid to stop, but she didn't. Fuck her. I'm not a huge teddy bear even though I look like one. No, that's fine. I got saved. That happened, and it was okay. Next story takes place at MCM Comic Con. It was a Sunday. I showed up late because my mum took for ages to get ready. So, thanks, Mum. The furry meet was happening as I showed up, so I quickly got into a kind of shelter bit to put my fursuit on, and I realised, oh, I forgot my contacts, because in real life I wear glasses. These are my glasses, see? They're just sitting here. However, I can't wear my glasses under my fursuit head. I need to take my glasses off, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot my contacts, like a doof. So, I was like, I'll just deal with it, you know, it'll be fine, like, it won't hinder me too much. I was wrong. I got to the furry meet. It was a good time. I was there for like 2 minutes, but it was fine. And the whole convention, I was kind of struggling to meet up with people. I just felt really lonely because I couldn't see very well, and like, let alone having really bad fursuit vision and then not actually having vision at all, meant that meeting up with people was a bit hard because I couldn't see them, you know, and I couldn't ask my mum to look out for people for me. I don't know what they look like, you know. For Kenna MCM Sunday, I felt a bit alone. I did meet up with a few friends. We left shortly afterwards and I was just kind of on my own that whole convention, but it didn't matter too much. I didn't mind. Yeah, I think that may be the last time I'll fursuit at MCM, just because it's just not really for me. It's so busy that it's hard to actually... People don't care that you exist because there's just so much going on. And I get that. I don't know, someone come over and give me hugs. I like attention. This is attention seeking to the max. Next story happens at Rikon Spring. So much happened at that convention, oh my god. But in Rikon Spring, a kid came over to me and he looked like he had something in his hand that was small. And he kept trying to feed me it in my fursuit mouth, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't want it going near my fursuit. No, I kind of kept turning away from him, being like, no, I don't want to eat. My dad, with my handler, was standing against the wall, kind of just watching the situation just to make sure that nothing bad was going to happen, which is good for him. But this kid kept trying to, like, feed me something, and I was like, no, I don't want to eat, and I was kind of like, no, go away, now. And then, after a minute of just being like, meh, bitch grabbed my horn and yanked it, and my whole head came down with me. The thing is I have a blind spot right here, so like I can't actually see my camera when I look this way, which is why you'll see in my videos I kind of look from the side all the time, because I'm just looking at what I'm doing. But I can't actually see right ahead of me, so I couldn't see this kid grab my horn. And then when he pulled it, I was so scared because I thought something maybe hit me from behind. I didn't know what was going on, because all I felt was just my head being pulled, and I was like, shit. At that point my dad immediately came over and told the kid to fuck off. And I checked my phone was still there, and I was like, whoa, what happened? You know, I just kind of dazed of being like, wait, huh? But no, it was fine. My dad's a good handler, but that was just really weird. Parents, keep control of your kids at conventions, please, for the love of God. You know that there are rascals, they will harass people, so just watch your kids. Next one happens at Glasgow Comic Con. I wasn't in fursuit, I was actually in my Loki cosplay at this point. I might have mentioned, the Loki cosplay I was in, I've had 3 Loki cosplays, they've all been adapted. I've had Loki 1.0, which was the first one I've made. It was debuted at Edinburgh Comic Con in 2018. Loki 1.5, which I fixed his horns. I fixed a lot of things actually on 2.5. However, there were still some things about him I didn't like. I didn't like the horns, I didn't like the armour that was on him, I just kind of hated it. And then there's 2.0, which is the one that I currently have, which I have now finally accepted and love. So, yeah, that's my 3. However, Loki 1.0 has been my worst, and I wore that to Glasgow Comic Con of 2019. Glasgow Comic Con also happens to be in the same venue as Rikon, so would you imagine? It just kind of feels like Rikon, but you know, with slightly less furries. I would just go off stage after doing the cosplay masquerade. Oh well, and there was a kid in a Star-Lord cosplay next to me. So you know, we were chatting for a minute, and we were sitting on the floor. I was sitting on the floor because it was really, really warm. And he was like, I like your cosplay. And then he kind of started pointing out things that were wrong with my cosplay without me necessarily asking for criticism first. And I didn't know this guy very well. He was like, the horns are a bit off, and that's a bit off, and there's more detail here. And I was like, yeah, I know these things. But I preface this, Loki 1.0 was one of the first cosplays that I'd ever made. And people actually really liked him back in 1.0. So, you know, and I felt confident in him, and that kind of shut my confidence down a little bit. If someone doesn't ask for constructive criticism, don't give it. It's really, it comes off as really, really rude. And it can actually hurt the person's feelings. And that's kind of what happened to me. And it got worse. So, when the awards were being announced, I was standing and I was leaning against a pillar, and the host was talking. He was really funny. And they announced the winners of a group cosplay, and the group wasn't there. They didn't appear. They probably went home once they had finished their performance. That happens sometimes. But they just went home. And I remember something kind of funny happening. I was standing there and I was smirking a bit. And I guess it was in character. Then the host was like, oh, the Loki over there, he's like, yeah, it's my turn. And you know, it was funny. The crowd laughed, I laughed. I was kind of shot back by it. But he was just trying to make a bit of joke directed towards me. Because the group wasn't showing up. yeah, that was fine. The host made a joke and it was funny and it was all good. Until Star-Lord mentioned from earlier butts in and make things really awkward and cringy. He then starts yelling that actually no, it's his turn and not mine, and that he should win. He kind of started making a really big scene. He tried to actually take my Tesseract away from me and I was like, no, stop it. And everyone was kind of just like, what is happening? Like, huh? And I felt really, really embarrassed afterwards. I was so close to going up to the host and apologising and just being like, I don't know what happened there. He made that really bad. But I didn't. I just went home. I was really tired that day. No, that Star-Lord sucked. Not only did he give me criticism where I wasn't asked, he also embarrassed me in front of a crowd of people. And that wasn't fun. So, yeah, just, like, don't make a scene, you know, at a thing. Like, unless it, just, don't yell, don't try and take attention to yourself. You know, the host made a joke directed towards me, you don't need to butt in and, you know, act all that. It's just, like, I felt really embarrassed and I didn't know what to do and I kind of just took my Tesseract back and I was like, fuck off. I didn't say fuck off, but I wanted to. No, don't give constructive criticism where it isn't asked for. Don't be like that, okay? Thank you. This last story takes place at Rikon Spring. I was up by the artist alley and a group of maybe 2 or 3 kids came over. They looked a bit young, they didn't look too far away from my age. One of them was dressed up as the hit or miss girl, and that I think that just explains what these kinds of people are. What kind of people these are? Grammar? What? What kind of people these people are? I don't know English. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, they came over and they were like, hello, are you a fuddy? And I said, yes. Yes, I am. Then they said, oh, can I sniff your toes? And I said, no. No, you cannot. I tried to walk away from them. They stood in front of me. And they were like, please let me sniff your toes. Please. And I was like, okay, go away. And then I felt one of them kind of go over and press something on my face. Like, I thought they maybe just, like, touched my head for no reason. And then they moved off. I remember my dad, who was the handler, came over right in front of me, peeled off a label sticker. He showed it to me and he was like, you put a sticker on your head. And I was like, oh, I didn't see that. It was just really weird. I don't know why they done it. I can't really explain that. I think they were trying to be like all memey and funny, quirky, but like, no, that was just weird. Also, don't put stickers on fur. Like, that could have damaged the fur there, but like, goddamn. It's just weird as shit. I don't like that. That's not fun. This last story takes place at Forge Comic Con. We were doing a little fursuit parade around the shopping centre, so it was just like all the fursuiters got together and we just took a little walk, you know, for fun. I remember while we were at the convention, there was a few cosplayers who kind of just kept like, not following us, but just kind of like coming over and talking to us, and like they were following us. There was one specifically, a kid who was dressed as Deku, and that's already off to a great start, you know. I remember he kind of walked with the parade with us, which was fine. If you want to walk with us, that's okay. Until he pulled me aside, because I think the group had stopped to talk to a family, and the Deku cosplayer pulled me aside, and they literally done this. They stood like this with their knees together. They can't see my knees. Like with their knees together, and they were doing this, and they were like, and I was like, oh, hi, what's going on? And then they were like, I think I have a crush on you. They had known me for about 10 minutes, that's 8, 10 minutes, and they'd only seen me in fursuit so far. So, what? I was so confused. I even made a TikTok about the situation. I was just really confused, and I was just like, what? And then I was just like, oh, okay. This kid looked like he might have been 11. I don't know. I'm 15, and I just stood there, and I was in my little fursuit pose, and I was like, okay. And then I just turned around and I walked back to where the fursuiters were to be like, something really weird just happened, guys. It was just a weird situation. And sometimes I'll end up like seeing them at conventions again, and then it's like, ugh. Okay. Hi. And I don't want to be rude, but they do follow me occasionally. And they try to, like, impress me. It's a weird situation. I'm not gonna dox this person, but just, like, it was just weird. I don't like that. Oh, I have bonus story. Bonus story! This one is a little bit more serious, actually. This one's, like, really long, but basically, Rutherglen Comic Con of 2019? There's a poster on my wall. Rutherglen Comic Con 2019, where I debuted Blatty. I was going about. There was a kid who came over to me, who actually went to my school. He was in first year at my school at the time. I was in third year at the time. And also his brother went to my school, who is also in my year. So there's two people included in this story. There's a kid, and then there's the other one. The other one is in my school and goes to my year. The kid also goes to my school, but is in first year and is not in my year. So, talk about the kid for a second. I've seen him before one time when I was at public suiting. God, this kid was, like, weird. I was at public suiting once because I had my first with me after doing a charity event. So the same day of doing a charity event with my school, I decided to public suit later on in the evening, just because, you know, I had my first with me and I wanted to walk around my suit because it's fun. We were walking through the shopping centre that I had the charity event in, and there was a group of kids in the corner. One of them kept tapping his friend and being like, look, look, look. And he came over to me, and introduced himself. I'm not going to say his name, but I knew what we'll call him Blake, and then we'll call his brother, Steve. So Blake came over to me, and he was like, oh, I really like your fursuit. And I was like, cool, yeah, we had a nice interaction. It was fun. And then we started leaving the convention centre. We started leaving the shopping centre, and he started to come with us. And I was like, you know what, that's fine. But at this point, I was kind of thinking of heading home, because it was getting dark, and it was getting late, and I wanted to go home. Because I was tired, and I wanted the food. I wanted the food, yes. So he started walking with us. And I knew that this kid was also brothers with Steve. And Steve, I've seen Steve walking home before. There's a bit that you get to at the end of my street where it splits off into two. So you can either go down the hill towards Aldi, or you can go the other way across the street towards my house. So I knew that this kid Blake would have to go this way towards Aldi, because that's also where his brother lives, and that's where he should also probably live. However, when we got to that cross off, I took a photo with him, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home now. I was just gonna walk home in first, just in case I saw anyone else that wanted to see me. So I went that way towards my house, and he also went that way towards my house, and I was like, okay, this is getting strange. But we just kept walking and talking, and he followed me to my door. And we said bye, and I went to my house with my friend, who was my handler at the time. I had a handler with me, so if anything were to happen, she was there. Let's probably preface that first. But he followed me to my door. And I got into my house, and I was like, suit off, whatever, doesn't matter. Skip forward again to Rutherglen Comic Con 2019. I was first sitting around. I had a planned handler who didn't fall through because she was going on a date with her boyfriend at the time. So I just found a handler through meeting other fursuiters who were there. Then I eventually found someone who would handle me, which is nice. I hung about with other fursuiters. And then Blake showed up. And he was like, hello Latty, and he was being really weird. He kept pulling on my ears and pulling at my tail, and he kept like trying to hug me from behind, which is terrifying to a fursuiter, like from from behind or from the side, unless you like properly know us, like you're our friend. I maybe wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't mind it if like one of my actual friends done it, like as a joke. But if you're someone I don't really know very well, don't do that. It's terrifying. But he kept just being a general annoyance, and he kept going over and pulling the other fursuiter's ears, and he was being like not hard, but enough that it was like really annoying. You know, just kind of like the tug of like, it was annoying. Eventually, we got away from him. We got to our back room, and immediately my friend took his head off, and he was like, "Oh my god, he's really annoying." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I know him, he goes to my school, he's probably going to be annoying for the rest of the day. And for the rest of the day, if he wasn't being annoying and like tugging at our suits, he would just be following us. Like, we'd be here, he'd be here, he'd just be following. And I was like, oh, I hate this so much and I don't like this. And I would have said something to con staff, but I didn't really feel like it was that big of a deal, surprisingly. So I just kind of left it as it was. Then cut to the London Comic Con 2020. I was at school and I spoke to Steve, who's Blake's brother. But to Steve and I was like, hey, your brother follows me around at conventions. Do you mind if you just kind of keep him away from me? Because I knew that Steve was going to go to this convention with Blake this time, because he told me. And he asked me if I was going to wear my suit, and I said yes. And Steve said to me, and this is a quote, I will keep him away from you if you don't wear the fursuit. And I was like, fuck you, I can wear what I want. I'm asking you to keep your brother away from me, because he's really annoying, and he follows me around at conventions, and I don't want to have to deal with that embarrassing situation with my friends. And he just kept saying no, not unless you don't wear the suit, because, you know, being a furry is a fucking crime, you guys. Luckily, at the 2020 Rutherland Convention, I didn't see Blake or Steve, which was nice. I did keep an eye out, but I didn't see them for the entire con, which was lovely. But don't be annoying to fursuiters, and don't follow people around unless you outrightly know them. I don't really know him too well, but I guess he thinks he knows me. I didn't like that situation. I don't like being followed, and I was just scared. I didn't like it, you know? Don't be a fucking creep. If you want to make friends with someone, just be normal. Like, just talk to them like they're a person, and they'll probably talk to you like a person back. If, you know, you want their social media, just ask. If they say no, respect it. You know, just be respectful of other people, please. I understand that sometimes people see fursuits, they can't really comprehend that we're human beings at first. It's kind of like, they forget, because they can't see your face, so they kind of just, it's something in the brain that just assumes that you're not a person, and they can kind of disregard you as a human being, which is why, if you're in a really, really bad situation, you should take your head off, because that kind of fucks with their brain a bit, and they're like, oh shit, that's a person, and they kind of, it doesn't work all the time, but it might work in favour for you. Yeah, remember that there are definitely human beings under these suits with restrictions and with boundaries. I've had my boundaries broken a lot in fursuit, and it's not fun. And parents, control your fucking kids, because they are rascals, and they will annoy us. And I like being annoyed. There have been, like, so many good times I've had in fursuit as well. Like, some kids are really, really nice, you know, some kids will come over, they'll hug you, and they'll pet your little face, and they'll pet your head, and they'll say hello, and it's lovely. There's so many times I've had so many nice opportunities with children, but sometimes they don't go so well, because they are mental. That was my weird and bad convention experiences. What's probably your worst convention experience? Tell me in the comments, I'd love to know. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!